All right, everybody. Thank you for synchronizing one more time into Transcend with M podcast. And I'm really excited because today we have Kat. Kat is a cultivator, a vibe creator, and an amazing uplifting agent of change that I had a pleasure to see speak in Vegas when I went last month. And she has such an impactful story, and she can be so she gets to your core in a way that you were not expecting. That I told her, hey, not only I want to have you on the podcast, but now we're going to get deeper and I need to know your story. We need to broadcast your story because if you can, anybody can. So welcome, Kat. Thank you so much
Thank
for being here
you.
tonight.
Thank you for inviting me on here. I really appreciate it. It means a lot for real.
Yeah, so let's get started.
Okay.
Who is Kat and what is her story?
So, I've actually been asking myself that question a lot on a one-on-one basis, and I think I'm evolving more and more into the highest version of myself every day. Some days I feel a lot closer to her than others. But I'm someone who I love people. Um, Before, as a child, I was told that it was a flaw because I cared too much and my expectations were too high. But I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Like, I believe in people, I believe in the goodness of people,
Yeah.
and the our ability to change our lives, right? So, like, not being a statistic of environmental things that we go through, and also not being a victim of the things that we experience in life, right?
Yeah.
So that's what started A Woman's Intention. So I moved to Las Vegas 3 years ago, and it was really hard for me to make friends. And I'm just like, damn, is it because I'm from New York? So I'm like very forward. Is it because I'm a Latina and I'm very like rah rah in your face? Or is it just because I'm this overly ambitious and animated person? It was a lot of
Yeah.
who am I in the
Mhm.
past 3 years. And, I realized I'm someone that just loves to be available. Obviously, I'm learning my boundaries of like, in what ways can I do that without feeling resentment towards people or feeling like I'm being taken advantage of. And I think that's my goal with A Woman's Intention, is to tap into women's psyche in a way that serves them in more than one way, right? So how can I be a better entrepreneur, or how can I be a better employee or a better parent or sister
Yeah.
or spouse? Because we play so many different roles, but it's not who we are. It's just roles that we occupy in life. Um, so for me, a little bit of my background: I'm a minority. I was a teen mom. I'm also a single mom. But I don't let myself lead with that narrative. I always tell myself like I'm this powerful person that's destined for really amazing things,
Yeah.
even if in that moment I may not feel like I fully understand what that is. So that's why I started these events, to like curate the vibe, which is more so giving birth to an environment where women can show up authentically as themselves in a setting where they're being held accountable to getting to that next level of what that looks like, right? Because we're always changing. Every day we're going through some new shit, and it makes us adapt
Yeah.
or retract. So
Yeah.
for me, it's just important to get people into that state of adapting into our lives and growing into our essence just as
Yeah.
women. For a long time in my life, I saw myself as a victim, because I came from domestic violence. And then also I had well, not a history, but, my mental health issues that I'm very open about.
Mhm.
Although it's scary, it's been so enlightening for me because I've allowed myself to connect with people in such a deeper way. And I always
Yeah.
tell people, you teach people how to treat you. You can't tell someone how to receive you, but you can
Yeah.
tell them your standard and let them decide if they want to move forward into that purpose or move out
Yeah.
of your way. And I think that
Right.
women especially need to be a lot more confident in taking on that role of kind of assigning what their life and their time is going to be looking like or occupied by. So
Right.
that's what gave birth to this business. And I feel like I cater to women, especially because my whole life I've never seen women as a position of power. I've
Right.
seen them as like an asset to, or, just someone who takes care of everything but doesn't
Mhm.
really thrive in their own essence.
Mhm.
And that's important for me because for me, that creates my sense of identity and my sense of self and who am I.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, that's pretty much like my history and why this business is so important to me because I love to feel connected.
So tell me a little bit about how dealing yourself with the sometimes is the inability to show up to feel that you can with having to show up for you and for
Hmm.
others. How has that helped you actually bridge that gap and become better and become more than you thought you were capable of?
I think, it's a lot of exposing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know the word expose has like a negative connotation, but when you really do it in an appropriate way, right? In a way that really serves you and your integrity, it just gives you so much freedom because you are making decisions based off of something that you're working towards instead of working to be accepted into something. You already accept every element of who you are, though it takes time. When you do that on the days that you don't really feel 100% capable,
Yeah.
it's okay because you're not guilt tripping yourself about it. You're like, I accept that today is just not my day. I'm cool. I'm going to continue to operate at a level that makes sense for me right now because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing it to meet someone else's standard because I've already created one for myself. And that's why
Okay.
I talk a lot about having a baseline.
Yeah.
Because if you have your baseline, you know, like, what is your coasting? Like, what
Yeah.
level of energy does that take? What level of involvement with other people does that take? And can I operate there, or do I have what it takes today to operate a little bit higher? So just being honest with yourself in a way that's not reprimanding,
Yeah.
like you accept, like, today I'm not feeling it, and that's okay. And it's really a lot of just reassuring self and validating your feelings because everything that we feel and think is valid. It's just choosing to lead with love and grace and patience for self. I think that's
Yeah.
what's been helpful for me.
And what are some of the tools that you use in order to get there? Because I think, for example, like everyone else, I have my highs and my lows,
Hmm.
and it is very difficult to pull yourself from the lows. And I know I should be telling all these things to myself, but what are some of the tools that other people that I can use in order to pull myself out of that state? Because, a lot of us, it's unfortunate, but it's true. We get a lot of the self-worth based on the day to day on and how much we can achieve on a daily basis, and that's
Hmm.
what yields so many people to depression, to anxiety, to burnout, because
Oh,
we
yeah.
get our self worth from those things. So, what are some of the tools that you use or that you have learned that can prevent people from getting into that specific state, or that they can use to pull themselves out of that state?
Hmm.
I
I
know,
think for
so sorry,
me,
very loaded question.
no, I love it because I'm going through things in my life right now, right? As
Yeah,
I'm trying to
yeah,
build this business, I'm still in school. And, I set these really high goals for myself that sometimes I can't achieve. And you're right. I feel like
Mhm.
shit when I can't. But what I do is I lean on to people that I know love me. And I said this at my first event. It's like sometimes your mind can be very tricky,
Yeah.
and our ability to downplay our success is so strong and
Yeah.
so dominant sometimes over the
Mhm.
positive things we have in life. And that's
Yeah.
why I think community is so important, because we're powerful beings, we're great, we're intelligent and all that, but we, at the end of the day, we are social beings, and we do
Yeah.
need each other, and we need people in our lives that will give us that confirmation. Not
Yeah.
so much validation, but just affirming what we already know about ourselves in
Yeah.
a positive light. Because I realized, even for myself, before, when I was really depressed, I was like, wow, this is really influenced by environmental things, right? So tangible things. Where I live, if my house is clean, if I feel pretty, if I have a new car, if I have that job in this place that is just so well respected. But when you learn to compartmentalize your life and separate tangible things and non-tangible things, you can dig into that account of like,
Mhm.
okay, when I feel like I'm not meeting a criteria in my work life, I can tap into my love for my creativity. Yeah, I mean, it's not
Yeah.
monetizing in any way, but it's something that makes me feel good. And what I tend to do is I love tapping into my past. As crazy as it sounds, and everyone's like, you got to leave the past in the past. We can't eliminate aspects of ourselves, because essentially that's what you're asking people to do. Forget that you were this way and just try to move forward being this different person, instead of
Mhm.
tap into your core and evolve from there, right? If the root is nurtured, the plant can grow, right? So
Yeah.
for me, I look at my life as a plant or a root. Am I nurturing those traumas and those wounds that have
Yeah.
manifested as adulthood complexes? Because a lot of the times when we respond to failure, it's a trigger point for us, because we start to, you know, kind of dissemble what we've built. So for me, it's knowing my love languages, knowing the ways that I need people to show up for me, and being very upfront about that in the beginning. So, me, if I have a new friend, I'm like, hey, during the week, I need you to show up for me.
Yeah. All right. Kat will be right with us. It will be just a moment. Thank you so much for your patience, and we will add her to the stream in just a second. We are live. That's what happens.
I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay. That's what happens. It's totally fine. I see you like, oh
I'm like, wait. And that was my little sister. She knew I was on my interview, but
my God,
sorry. But yeah, so for me, it's really about knowing what I need
what
from
happened.
myself and from people. And sometimes I need that solitude,
Yeah.
and sometimes I need to be nurtured by something outside of myself. And I think it's powerful when we accept the fact that we were not placed on this world to be alone. We need
Mhm.
to uplift each other, and we need to feed life into each other. So for me, words of affirmation, showing up for myself in the ways that I show up for others, because like I said earlier, you teach people how to treat you, and the only way to do that is to lead. and leading by example. Most people are visual learners.
Yeah.
There's some great writers, there's some people that love to read, but we navigate through life utilizing our senses. So, like I said, if we tap into those non tangible elements of ourselves and our needs, then I feel like it becomes a lot easier to use that as like a well of a
Yeah.
resource for positive reinforcements in our lives.
100%. 100%. So how do you place those boundaries? How do you communicate this is what I need, people? Because I feel like it's kind of selfish, but it's not, right? So
Hmm.
how, and that's, that's the scarcity of the mindset of like you don't deserve to, say any of these things or communicate any of these things because we're not taught to do those.
Yeah.
So how do you create that communication? How do you foster that communication?
I think it's for me, I always tell people I'm here to say my piece. How
Okay,
you receive that is 100% up to you. I
got
don't
it.
have any expectation of how you respond to it. All I can do is deliver myself as I am. And I
Hmm.
think it's more so becoming comfortable with who we are, right? And
Hmm.
feeling that we do deserve the respect that we want. Because if there's a need for something, that means that the possibility does exist. And
Yeah,
what happens a lot, to entrepreneurs or to women, is we have these really big dreams, but we
yeah,
haven't really fostered the true belief in the fact that we are able to execute them and that we deserve the success that comes with that work. A lot of women that choose the entrepreneurial route, they come from need, right? Necessity,
yeah,
not, oh, I'm bored and I feel like doing this. So that doesn't really have longevity because there's no substance. The why is not bigger than self. So it's not really solid. Whereas if we're coming from some sort of hardship,
yeah,
now we're vested into this. Now we can connect with people. But the only way to do that is to not be embarrassed about things in our lives. Like that's why
mhm,
when I get on a stage, I'm like, listen, I'm nervous. I'm
yeah,
nervous. I have anxiety. I have this and I have that, because when you show up as yourself,
mhm,
you give people permission to do that too. And that's what creates this like safety net for our feelings, and our safety net to be able to feel more comfortable vocalizing our needs. But you have to really believe that you deserve the respect that comes with the demand.
yeah. And I think that's where self-doubt
Hmm.
reigns, right? Like we cannot let that happen. I honestly, from when we were together in Vegas, I was extremely nervous. I had all these things going on that week, and I just didn't know if I was up to the caliber of like everyone that was presenting, right?
Hmm.
And then self doubt kind of like overtakes, and I almost forgot everything that I was going to talk about. And
Wow.
it was interesting because everybody looked so natural up there. And then when everybody started talking so real, I was like, oh, I got this.
It's so crazy. So I was having a conversation
Yeah.
last night and I said, you know, a lot of people walk through life um kind of just seeing it through the lens of themselves, right? But we never see ourselves how other people see us. So
Yeah.
that nervousness, girl, you were not the only one. I had the microphone in my hand and I didn't even know what I was going to say, because I'm like, insurance agents, this is not really my, I don't have a
Yeah.
set demographic. It's more so
Yeah.
minorities, women in business, women that are willing to be open about their mental
Yeah.
health, and that want to step into that conviction
Yes.
of, this is my standard, this is my expectation. I have
Hmm.
every right to demand it, because I know what my offering is to
Yeah.
you, how I am of service to you, I know is beneficial. And I feel like that doubt comes from being unprepared, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I study for a test, I'm like, I got this. But if I
Yeah.
didn't even crack open the textbook, an idle mind, they say like an idle mind is a devil's playground. If you're not occupying your time trying to actively and consciously make yourself better and get yourself in a closer alignment with what you expect from the world, then you don't feel deserving. So it's,
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, I'm in this space where I'm just really trying to prepare myself for the life I want. And on the days that I feel like I don't deserve it, remember why the dream even came to me in the first place. It is possible for me because I am life. I am love. I am empowerment. I am strength. And there's proof of that. I've made it out of so many bad situations in life. And even on the days where I couldn't show up for myself, I showed up for other people. And to some, they'll be like, what the hell? That doesn't even make sense. But when you are someone who is a servant of the world and
Yeah.
of people, that fills your cup because it makes you feel good. For me, I love to feel wanted by people. I love to feel included. Yes, I can exist on my own, but what kind of life is that? Like why have social events and why have nightclubs and classrooms and libraries if we're not meant to meet together somewhere in the middle and learn from each other and feed life into each other on the days where one person may not feel like they're up to that standard, you know?
Yeah.
I know for me, I self-doubt is like my right shoulder. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's always there, but I think the most important thing to do is to lead with love. If you are consistently leading with love, then you live a life of grace. And when you live a life of grace, you live a life of gratitude. And it's really just looking at everything as an opportunity rather than an obligation, because when you start to lose the love and the passion for things that make you feel good, that's when you get depressed because you're like, wow, my life is boring and I just do things to work to make money. I'm a robot. If we make life a little bit more colorful and just like expand our universe, we serve ourselves so much better and the people that we love. And that's how we get that longevity in relationships, whether it's platonic or it's a relationship or business partnership or mentorship. Sometimes we don't feel like the smartest person in the room, but it's okay to be a student. It's
Yeah.
okay to show up and say, hey, I don't have all of the answers, or I don't feel strong today. I feel ugly as fuck. Help me.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
please, can you just tell me something you love about me? I just need to hear it out loud. It's about being okay with verbalizing our needs. A lot of times we think for other people, and psychologically that puts us in a subconscious state of existing, right? So we have these conversations with ourselves in our heads and we run through all of these scenarios and we assume how a person is going to respond, that it creates this narrative in our minds that does not exist. And I think that that's where a lot of the lack of vulnerability comes, because we kind of just like assume that we know the role that people want to play when they enter our lives, instead of just playing our own role and letting people place themselves where they feel like they belong, and us saying, okay, I'm okay with that, or no, I'm not okay with that. And I stand on that firmly. I think it's more so what will create that security even on the days of self-doubt is tapping into like who you truly, truly, truly are. Because this is just a version of yourself that you've
Yeah.
created in your mind, but you're so far beyond that. And it's tough to do it for yourself. It's very easy to say those things and show up for other people. My one of my best friends tells me all the time, she's like, I don't understand how the fuck you can empower me and you can make me feel so good and you're literally at home depressed crying before you got here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know how I do it. That's how I've operated my whole life. And I'm not giving myself an excuse to continue to be that way. And you've got to give me some
Yeah.
grace.
Yeah.
I'm actively working on it, you know. But when
100%.
we're like not receptive to change,
Mm-hmm.
we become debilitated. And I think that's
Yeah.
why it's hard for a lot of people to connect or to show up and be like, hey, like the room is going to take shape to me because I'm here now, you know. So I think that's going to be the superpower of a woman's intention, is bringing this luxury perspective into mental health. It doesn't have to be, let me throw you on some pills, you're sick, you're disabled. It's more so, this is a piece of who you are. It's not a piece of your identity, but it's a piece of your experience in this human form. So
Yeah.
how can I heal my core and my spirit so that I can make this a more enjoyable experience for me and not be in it alone.
Yeah. That's, I mean, sorry, you just gave me a ton to think about, because it is so true. Like we're so cruel with
Mhm.
ourselves.
Oh
We
yeah.
are. We are, especially when we're moms, when we're, wives, or, whatever it is that you are, most of the time, 98%, it's all about everything else but you. And you
Oh
don't
yeah.
give you the well, like you said, the grace and the power that you deserve in order to keep moving forward. It is amazing. I don't have anything else to add because you just said it all. And I think if I just add something else, I'm gonna just ruin it. I'm just gonna ruin it. Um,
No.
but how do you feel now versus how you felt 3 years ago? What is the difference between the cat of now and the cat of then? Because I think it is a journey, and it's always a continuous journey. But
Mhm.
there is something to be said that once you go into some transformation of this sort, that you can still be like, wow, right?
Yeah.
So, what is the wow of cat?
That question makes me so emotional.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It makes me emotional because I've come so fucking far
Yeah,
and I forget it very often.
yeah,
And I knew I wanted a change in my life, and I was very ashamed at first for the reason why I came out here. You know, I had a really good job back home, I had my own place, I had my car, but I was still living my life for other
yeah,
people, you know,
yeah,
and that's what had me in and out of the hospital every other week because
yeah,
I was like a third party in my parents' marriage.
yeah,
And I had no sense of self and identity. So
yeah,
that who am I question is very new for me because my whole life I was just a piece of someone else's chaos.
mm,
And that's where I came up with my slogan for a woman's intention, which is finding the beauty beyond the chaos, because life is crazy as hell. We are
yeah,
all going to go through shit. And, you know, during the daytime, I might be happy, and at night, I might be crying myself to sleep. And, you know, that's
mhm,
not an imperfect life, that's a real life.
yep,
And I think the change and the wow factor. Oh, that's a good question. The wow factor would just have to be that I have so much more respect for my place in this life now than I ever did. Um, and that has allowed me to step out of victim mode. That has allowed me to step outside of my comfort. And it also has allowed me, even if it's briefly, to step outside of my self doubt. I'm not going to say it doesn't still exist, but I have learned to just channel me, me 100%, me by myself, my spirit, my needs, my feelings, connecting to my mind, to my heart. Like when you think about things as simple as breathing, right? Like our breath is what fills our lungs, but it also oxygenates our blood, which makes our brain work. Like we are just so incredible that to think permanently that we are not valuable
Yeah.
is chaotic. It's chaotic. And I think I've just learned to see the beauty in myself and I stopped trying to feel valid by fixing people. And that's why I haven't learned to label myself in this industry yet, because I don't see
Mhm.
myself as a coach. I see myself as a nurturer. I see
Mm,
myself as someone who's a pioneer. Like I'm curating something that is a need based business that is also very taboo, and it's very
yeah.
confrontational because not everybody is ready to accept their truth. And I think, again, that's where that wow factor comes into place. Me knowing so much about myself allows me to try my best to
Mhm.
not always take things personal, right? Because we're
Mhm.
all on our individual journeys, we're growing in our own speed and also in our own directions. And it's like that's something college taught me, was to be able to question things but not question people's authority, because that conviction comes from like an internal power that people work really hard to create. um and I'm getting in the habit more of saying like I'm so proud of myself
Yeah.
and that I love myself, because that was really hard for a long time.
Yeah.
When you're verbally um when you're verbally manipulated to thinking you're less than, you
Mhm.
search outside of yourself for relevance,
Yeah.
and for goodness. But I truly do believe that we all have goodness. I mean, shit, we all have greatness in us.
Yes.
And we have to believe it. We have to get into the habit of believing it more often, and like I said, just operating in an elevated space of being. My favorite
Mhm.
quote from Oprah, she's like, well, I can't quote it directly, but something
That-
about like just existing as the truest, highest form of yourself. Not perfect,
Yeah.
not, popular and expected, but just the truest form of your highest self. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's where that growth comes in. And when you radiate love, that's when your friends start to change, your environment starts to change, but you
Yeah.
have to really believe that you deserve it. So that in those moments where people try to question you and make you feel like, who the fuck do you think you are? Who is this bitch? I'm that bitch. That's
Yeah,
exactly who
yeah,
I
yeah,
am.
yeah. I have to say something. The day I interview Oprah, I've made it. I don't care if I'm not making any money. The day I meet her or I
Oh,
interview her, I've made it. So please share this with her.
yes.
Um,
Oh, we're gonna have everybody tagging her. I want her to like be my aunt or like
oh
a
my God.
mentor,
Yes,
something like, girl,
something,
just
something.
just be here.
Just call me once a year. That's all I need, right? Like,
And and that speaks to what I'm saying, is like when you, like she always says, you know, when you are existing as yourself and you are operating in a space of excellence, you become of service to something outside of you, and that makes you more deserving of receiving. Because
yeah,
a lot of people feel entitled to someone's love or entitled to someone's time and their patience, and then
yeah,
we give them nothing in return.
yeah,
So it's learning to be selfless in the way that you navigate through life, so that you can feel closer to deserving the things that you're demanding. Because it's
yeah,
not wrong to want more and to want to be better and to want to be seen in a different light, as long as you're actively doing the work to get you there. Like
mm-hmm.
some of our accolades are non-tangible, and I feel like they should be held to the highest regard, because everything else will fade in time, but like your substance and your
Yeah,
essence and your assurance of yourself is what creates your legacy in life. That
yeah,
ability to be able to share the knowledge without feeling like it's taking away from you.
Right.
And that's a really like powerful, powerful, powerful place to
Yeah.
be. And I think that's my wow factor, is I'm getting a lot more close to that. Even on the days where I feel depressed, I don't give up, because I know that there's something for me here that I need to connect with before I'm done in this
Yeah.
realm of, my spiritual journey.
That's
And
awesome.
it's okay for not everybody to think and live that deeply, but you
Mhm.
have to know how to like set those boundaries so that it doesn't deplete your progress,
Right.
because we're all working really hard just to be improved, like to constantly improve, and as long as we're not comparing ourselves to other people, and we're just looking at it as like, what can I learn from you, what can I gain from you in a way that, is not selfish, then we're doing good as a people. I
Yeah.
think we have these unrealistic expectations of what life is supposed to look like, that we don't even exist in the present. So how can you appreciate how far you've grown if you're not even paying attention to it, because you're desperately craving the next best thing? Sometimes you just got to stay still and enjoy where you are and really be present in that moment, so you can not only learn how to exist in that space, but again, prepare yourself for the next chapter of who you're growing into. Um, but I think life is a beautiful thing. I think I'm finding my love for life now at almost 30 years old with a 10-year-old. But I'm okay with that, because I think a lot of the things that hurt me in life have
Yeah.
also forced me to tap into my strength. Like I always tell people, you can't pray or wish for strength and think you're going to have an easy life. Life is going to present you opportunities to choose to be strong,
Mhm.
and to choose to do the right thing, and to choose to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
We can talk about it all day, but your actions and your persistence is what really is going to separate you from the life that you had, the life that you're currently living, and the life that you choose to
You
create for
choose to
yourself.
create for yourself. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I think there is you know, there is so much you can absorb, and there is so
Hmm.
much that you can learn. But if you don't execute, you're not going anywhere, right? Like you can
Exactly.
go to 700 conferences a year, which is not actually physical feasible, but if you
How would I
don't
survive that?
yeah, if you don't execute at least one change a day,
Hmm.
how are you pretending to become better or become more or learn more about yourself or change behaviors, right?
Yeah.
So I think we all owe it to yourself, and I think kudos to you for being able to get to a place where you can identify,
Yeah.
execute, and continue to learn to transform your journey. And I think that's the most beautiful thing, right?
Thank you. It's been
So,
tough. It's been tough. And it's
yeah,
also been a lot of releasing
yeah,
habits that no longer serve me, and people that aren't giving me what I need back into the universe,
yeah,
because it would be selfish for me to want to just occupy everything at once when
yeah,
I can just make room for greatness to exist and to
yeah,
continue to flow. Like I don't want to
yeah.
clog the drain with the BS.
Right.
Um, and a lot of my journey has been forgiving people,
Mm-hmm.
and forgiving myself, because sometimes I can be a very stubborn person, and I can think that I know it all and I know what's best, but we really only know what's best for us. We can't tell someone else how to live their life, but
Right.
we can always encourage, and we can empower, and we can share
And
resources. So
and share our
I think
experiences
that's
and
it.
our
Yeah.
stories. This is why this podcast exists. It's about sharing
Yeah.
the story so you can learn from others, because that's the most beautiful thing. We know that we're not walking this path alone, and there are
Right.
people out there, and you never know how unconsciously you can help someone. So
Oh yeah.
share. I always say, like today, I'm going to tell you something. I've never heard from this person before. I know her, and we talked, but she's never given me any feedback about my
Hmm.
podcast or like the newsletters that I sent or anything like that. And
Hmm.
today she texted me out of the blue because of the episode that was released today. And she
Hmm.
said, "Hey Monica, how are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm good. How are you?" Like it's Tuesday.
What's
I'm like,
going
the
on?
world is on fire, but it's all good. And then, uh, and she said, "I love seeing your emails of inspiration highlighting our network. This is amazing. I know how much work it takes to get that stuff done, so I appreciate you and your efforts. Thank you for keeping me uplifted every week."
Wow.
You never know
You never
how
know.
you are helping people.
You
You
never
never know.
know.
You
Wow.
never know. Your story can help so many.
Oh
Your
yeah.
your journey can help so many. And even when you don't think you have something to teach, or do you think that your story is just too raw to be told, I think
Hmm.
we all have an amazing story behind us that can teach another generation or another person
Yeah.
that is not close to us,
Hmm.
confront their journey. And I think you are doing that very well with your
Ooh,
message. Okay.
that's definitely the goal, and it's been rocky. But I think people come to their senses eventually,
Yeah.
and that's why I always say it's just my job to give you what I can. You
Yeah.
can take what you
100%.
want and in your own time, but all I can do is give you what I have to offer,
Yeah.
and nothing beyond that is my responsibility. And
Yeah.
it makes doing that work for others a lot easier,
Hmm.
because I'm like, in a way, it may sound selfish, but I'm doing it for me because it makes me happy to see you happy, and it makes me happy to see you succeed.
Yeah.
And I think, if it's selfishness in goodwill and in good faith, then it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt
Yeah.
to do that. And I feel like we as a people, we crave it, but everybody's like this. No, I don't want to be the first to cave, and I don't want to be honest about my feelings because rejection is just a pivot, and a pivot again is another set of choices. Either I'm going to pursue, or I'm going to pause, or I'm going to just be on my way. And
Yeah.
I think, I have been helping a lot of people come to terms with accepting that not one outcome is correct more
Right.
than the other. Like any way you choose to go, you can always change your mind. You can always be like, "Hey, I didn't like it before, but I want to try now." If
Yeah.
that's okay. Yes,
Yeah.
of course it's okay. If you
You
want
have
it,
to
go
be
get
open.
it.
You have to be open. And yeah,
Yeah.
time will never be perfect.
Hmm.
Time will never be perfect, but it definitely comes when it's right.
Oh yeah.
So I really appreciate you being here. I
Thank
I
you.
love your story and I love what you do. It's very similar to what I do here in Massachusetts. We're just like across the country,
I
So we're gonna have to
know.
bring like an event together or
Oh yeah.
something, because I
Oh
will love.
yeah.
I think I will have a lot of ladies here that will be like, "Let's go to Vegas, baby."
Let's do
So
it. Let's
we
do
can come
it.
to you. We can come to you. I think that would be awesome.
Oh my
Um,
God, that would be what? I would love that. When I saw everybody flying in for the
yeah,
unfiltered experience, I was like, that is some pull. I
yeah,
love it. I love it.
yeah,
And that just goes to show if you want something, you're gonna make it happen.
yeah. One way
But
or another.
you gotta decide. I always tell people,
Yeah.
Don't leave yourself in limbo. Just decide, stand on
Yeah.
that decision, write it out. And if you don't like the outcome, make another decision to change it, you know? But that to me was so impressive. I would love to, I know, I already know that a woman's intention is going to turn into that. And that's why I'm taking my time in building this. I'm not in a rush. I'm doing it at my own pace, you know. I took a break because I was going to do an event this month. And, I'm like, life happens and it happens fast, and you got to know how to prioritize things, right? So my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I'm like, okay, do I want to make money and do I want to continue to help women? Yeah, of course, but it doesn't have to be right now because 3 months ago I decided it was going to be right now. It's okay for that to change and for me to adapt to my life and the things that are being presented to me. So, I'm excited for February though. The
That's
next one,
good.
a woman's
Tell us
intentions will be in
what's happening. What's
February.
happening in February? Let's listen to it
Yes.
so we can go there. Go share.
Yes. So I'm gonna be doing another woman's intention brunch, and we're gonna be talking about relationships and intimacy. So just having women be more vocal about places where they feel insufficient, whether it's with themselves or with their partners, and on a relationship level, on a sexual level, and just getting us to understand ourselves more so that it can be a more pleasurable experience when we are dating or when we are being intimate with someone or establishing those boundaries. Because I feel like although there's conferences that'll tell you how to run your business, like I said at my last conference, is if your core and your home are not good, it doesn't even matter because everything else will be in shambles. So, I think breaking things down into sizes that are more digestible and like more specific topics, it'll be helpful for people to kind of release the burden of the worry of that area in their
Yeah.
life. Like if I know that I'm being honest in my relationship about how I feel, I can let that simmer and focus back into my business or focus in
Yeah.
school or with a personal hobby that makes me feel good. So that's going to be the main topic for that one.
Yeah.
And we're going to have like a speed dating, but make it business kind of thing
Very
going
nice.
on.
Okay.
Yes. I was
Okay.
like, how can I make
I
this
love it.
creative? Because I'm single. So when I think about single, I'm like, okay, I don't want people to waste my time. I know what I want. And business is the same. Like if you have already
Yeah.
established your business, you know what you want people to know and you know what you want to hear from others.
Oh,
So if it can be a
yeah,
quick
yeah,
exchange, not everything has to be like a let me convince you. It can just be let me present it to you, you know?
yeah, 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 yeah. I love
So it's
it.
it's still gonna be on the networking side.
Yeah.
We have a partnership. I just established a partnership yesterday with a local Cuban restaurant. So
Congratulations. That's
thank you.
amazing.
I'm just
So
trying
you
to
have to
create
send me.
opportunities for other people too, and that's why
Yeah.
I do panels because I'm like, I want different people to see representation of whether it's their ethnicity or it's their lifestyle on
Yeah.
this stage in a position of power so that it feels more
Yeah.
attainable for them.
That's
But what were
awesome.
you going to say? I'm so sorry.
No, I was gonna ask, can you just share with me like the Insta, whatever, text it or sending me the profile of that Cuban restaurant? Because I
Oh,
do
yeah.
have I do have three cousins that live in Vegas. So like Sunday after the conference, I spent some time with them, and like I don't know much, and they actually don't know much about Hispanic places in Vegas to go eat that is not like Mexican or Central American.
Right.
So can you send me like the profile so we can, like, next
I
time
will
I'm there, I want to
definitely do
grab
that. Their food is so good. And I tell them, I was like, I don't vouch for things that I don't believe in. I'm like, I've been
it.
promoting
Yeah,
your business since way before I knew I wanted
yeah,
to do business with you.
nice.
Because to me, like, culture is so important. And like, letting that live on, knowing your native language or knowing how to cook a native dish or those traditions. Like Puerto Ricans, we celebrate three kings, and I don't
Yes.
see no Puerto Ricans celebrating Three Kings or speaking Spanish. And I'm just like,
Hmm.
we cannot lose a piece of
Yeah.
identity, because
Right.
it influences so much, it influences how we navigate through this life, and
Yeah.
I think it's important to associate ourselves with things outside of our trauma, and our culture is a
Yeah.
beautiful thing that we inherit, and we should definitely tap into that a lot more
Yeah.
than we do here in
Yeah.
America anyway, in my
That's
opinion. I don't know,
amazing.
yeah, so I'm so happy to be working with them. They're really great people. They're from the East Coast too. So I'm like, you got
Nice.
the hustle I got. So it's a perfect fit. It's a perfect fit.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
And they sell
Perfect.
malta there. So I'm like, yes. Give me those
Oh, India.
tostones and that
Oh, hold
juca.
on.
India is my favorite.
Okay, because I'm like, if
India
you
is
tell
my
me you're drinking
favorite.
Malta
I'll
Goya,
do
we're
the
gonna
other
have.
one, but
Mm,
India is definitely my
yeah,
choice for my poison.
yeah.
But do you like cola champagne?
Oh my God, yes. And piña buena.
Oh my goodness, girl, you about to go make me throw it down in the kitchen right now.
It's like, can we just go make some empanadillas con cola champán and some like rellenos maybe? We'll be good
God,
to go.
let me tell you
All
something.
right.
When I moved out here, I was like, you know what? I had started a coquito business with my mom back home in
Nice.
Jersey. I
We
left her
don't
with
pay
all
for
of my
that.
clients.
Yeah?
Girl, out here, I was taxing. And nobody knew what coquito was. So I was like, yo, I'm at an advantage. I'm like, I do coquito, I do sofrito, empanadilla, arroz con
Yeah.
gandule. Tell me what you need and I'll give you a price. Because you're right, it is hard to find out here.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
hard. And some places they have good food, but the customer service is like, I don't even want
It's
to be
awful.
here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I love about this restaurant. Like I walk in and there's salsa, like it's just the whole, it's an
Environment. Yeah.
experience. It's an
Yeah. That's
experience.
awesome.
And
And
I
that's
love
what you
it.
sell, right? You sell the experience. The food can be okay and not like grandma did it, but if you're having a good time and you're like at least tasting some from your hometown or something that you're familiar with, you're still gonna have a good time, and you're gonna be back. You're gonna be back. So I love it. Well, Kat, thank you so much for being here today. It's been amazing. How can people find you? Where can people follow you so they can learn more about you? And then we'll wrap this up.
So, my business Instagram is a woman's intention. And then my personal is Miss K Mendez, so MISS. And our website is www.awoman'sintentions.com. And when people sign up for the email list, they do have access to some free resources that I have on there, some workbooks. I have like a mindfulness workbook, and it kind of walks you through steps of active mindfulness,
Yeah.
meditation, color. Like I said, things that bring us back to our childhood
Yeah.
and our innocence that can allow us some room for grace and comfort. So, yeah, I think everybody
Nice.
should check it out. And there's, photos of other business people on there that participate in our events. So you
Mhm.
might see yourself on there, when you come out to Vegas for February's event.
That's a tough month because here the temperature is like -10 and you always get stuck in the
I
freaking
know.
airport. So,
Imagine my birthday's February 10th. You know how my birthday parties
wow.
went? They didn't even happen.
Yep.
Because there was always
Okay.
a blizzard. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. This
There
isn't
is a
working for me.
nor'easter coming your way.
Hmm. Hmm. And the
I'm
black
sorry,
ice,
man.
oh my God, it's so dangerous. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I do not miss that. I do miss seeing the seasons change though, but
Yeah.
that's
All
what
right.
visiting is for. But
Perfect.
thank you again. I appreciate you following up and, coming up and speaking with me and just, sharing a piece of yourself too. I think it's amazing and it makes me feel great to know that I have somebody in Boston now.
Yes, you
So,
can come
we could go to
anytime.
a game or something.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be rivals. We're gonna be like, oh no, she's the Yankee one. And then everybody will be like, boo, Yankee
That's what
suck
makes it
because this is,
fun. That's you
you
gotta you gotta
know,
keep it spicy.
love it. Well, thank you for being here. Have an amazing night, and hear it directly from Kat, her story, her amazing journey. And if you want to talk to her directly about, everything that she's doing, anything that she can help you with in terms of growth, feel free to reach out to her because she is really amazing and with a big heart and willing to help you get to the next level. So thanks so much and have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.